Hello there, and thank you for stopping by. Welcome to the second part of my 4-video series that I initially started just for my nephews who are just getting into this game. The first video I did has apparently picked up a lot of steam, and I'm actually really grateful for all of the positive feedback that I've gotten on there. Here in this video, and the previous and future presentations, I talk about the multitude of factions that you can choose from to play as in this really wonderfully interactive, violent, and incredibly fun tabletop game, Warhammer 40,000. For those of you stumbling across this video for the first time, be sure to check out my previous video, Warhammer 40,000, starting a Space Marine army, where I talk about the powerful, robust, and sometimes zealous Space Marines, also known as the Astartes. In this second video, I will go over the special armies of the Imperium of Man, from the Goliath juggernauts known as the Adepta Sororities to the average human soldier serving the Imperium in the Astra Militar. I hope this video helps inspire you and maybe persuade you to passionately choose an army that stands out to you, for I feel that that is the most important way to start any army in this game. Our friends who are veterans and newbies alike refer to the mantra of rule of cool when it comes to beginning a new army. I think that's the most important thing, is choosing something that really stands out to you. So without further ado, let's dive in and analyze the Imperium of Mankind's vast armies and what they have to offer on the battlefield. Let us first begin with the Emperor's personally crafted, sculpted, conceived specimens, the gigantic, powerful, show-stopping behemoths known as the Adepta Sororities. In the previous video I did about the Space Marines, I talked about how powerful they are, the Space Marines, being capable of taking on any threat with ease and being basically unstoppable with their superior combat tactics, superhuman strength, and unrivaled melee abilities. These are basically living hulks in unbreakable armor and are twice as fast as any gifted regular human being, really. Now consider that for a moment at how incredible it would be to stand in the presence of a massive warrior like that. Now multiply those abilities by 10 or more. That's the Adepta Sororities. These are the Emperor's sworn bodyguards and most potent problem solvers. They are the sledgehammer, and also the needle of the Emperor's army, able to completely annihilate threats or surgically eliminate individual threats without issue. Not only do they protect the Emperor in his massive temple and stand guard over the Golden Throne, sometimes these Goliath super soldiers are dispatched to handle issues in various parts of the galaxy that are deemed too tough for even a Space Marine to handle any other way. So let's just say, if you notice giant golden super soldiers coming for you, be proud that you have personally gathered the attention of the Emperor and his High Council personally, and that you will probably be dead within moments. These massive heroes of the Imperium are often accompanied by pariahs, or null maidens, known as the Sisters of Silence, who are just average women when we're talking about physicality. But they're more than just women, clad in these golden artificer armors, and who don't speak at all. They've sworn a life of silence, apparently, for some reason. They also are born with a gift that allows them to basically turn off any psychic abilities that someone may possess, so psychers can't even deal with these deadly women. They are master duelists with swords, and incredible tacticians armed with weaponry as potent as the Space Marines. If this is an army you might be interested in, then know that this army will not be big, because each Adepta Sororities is considered a hero in their own right. They are often seen by enemies and allies as taking on entire armies by themselves. It's very rare to see them fighting together as a team, for they're all an army unto themselves. Armed with large power spears that are also equipped with powerful ranged weapons, they can shoot better, fight better than any other army in the vast, dangerous galaxy. Their jet bikes are also incredibly powerful and very fast, coming in hot and unleashing barrages of rockets and stormbolter fire. If that doesn't defeat the enemy, then once the bikes come into close combat range, the Custodes are just as powerful with their long pole arms as they speed past you and decapitate you with ease. If you want a small patrol that can take on entire armies with ease from both afar and up close, this is the army for you. I'm not gonna lie, I get nervous at the idea of seeing these golden-clad Custodes marching toward my feeble Necrons on the table. Next up, we have a very unique army of the Imperium, one that I will admit I don't really know much, as I've only read one book based on them, and that is the Mechanicum. These guys are basically cyborg Martians who live on Mars and are responsible for the manufacturing of the Imperium of Man's weapons, vehicles, and spacecraft. Much like the Iron Hands of the Space Marines, they worship an entity known as the Machine Spirit, or as they refer to it as the Omnissiah. They are masterful craftsmen and potent fighters, as most of their weak flesh is replaced with mechanical augmentation. They process situations as fast as a computer and have some of the most powerful ranged weaponry. Not only do they craft powerful weapons, they're responsible for the manufacture and operation of titanic walking weapon systems known as Knights. If you want an army as unique as they are deadly, the Mechanicum is a complicated, long-range death force that can obliterate their enemies from afar. Their Castellan robots are also no joke. Look at these guys. These guys are able to unleash insane amounts of firepower and obliterate up close. There are some pretty cool units called Scutari, also, wielding long-range sniper weapons. They have tech priests that can repair other vehicles and augmented machines. And these guys are very shady, and always looking for new technologies to advance their civilization and military, and have the potential to create some truly powerful weapons of mass destruction. For example, the Imperial Knights. So since I already touched on them a little bit with the Mechanicum, let's roll right into the next army, the Imperial Knights. From the large armature-class knights all the way up to the gargantuan, darn near city-sized warlord titans, these massive walking death machines are basically walking battle fortresses, armed to the teeth with world-destroying weaponry. Really isn't much else to say about these guys other than they're pilots who basically sync up and integrate themselves to the machine spirit of these titans. These pilots are known as princeps, and basically they live to drive these war machines and can create strange bonds with the machine spirits inside of them, and are often depressed once they're unplugged from them during repairs or when they're being shipped to another world for combat. Every time they connect, the bond grows stronger and stronger, making it almost painful not to be operating these machines of mass destruction. Weird, right? What's cool about playing this army is that you can run an entire army of like 5 of them or so, because they're so expensive to take, of these Death Walkers, or you can integrate one or more, depending on how many points you're spending on an army in the game. You can integrate these into your Imperial army. So you could have a Custodes army and have a Titan behind them just laying down some crazy firepower while the soldiers are diving in with their halberds and carving up their enemies. These machines are often used to support the next army I'm about to talk about, the Astra Militarum, and these two seem to work quite well together. So without further ado, let's move on. Here we have the vast, more numerous, most over-the-top army in the setting, the Imperial army known as the Astra Militarum. These are just your everyday troopers. Nothing too special about them, considering they are just like you and me, humans, flesh, blood, and emotions. These emotions do not exist within the Space Marines' Mechanicum and Custodes. This can be a serious issue for any military when it comes to morale, especially this one. Imagine facing the horrors of the galaxy, like say demons, immortal robots that repair themselves, space elves that torture and maim people, large tyrannid aliens that can rip a man apart and outnumber them 10 to 1. That's some scary stuff for an everyday trooper. Well, no fear. Most large platoons are led by commissars that will execute you if you try to run away. And you actually can play the game like this. When you play the tabletop game, there is a phase that you play known as the morale phase, where if you suffer casualties in a fight, sometimes the surviving troops can become demoralized or too afraid to stay and fight and will flee the battlefield, making you remove that model from the table. But if you have a commissar nearby, he can shoot another guardsman beside you as a threat, making sure you or your buddies don't even think about running away, or you'll be shot too. Well, now that we know how rough it would be to be one of these poor guys on the battlefield, let's look at the multitude of awesome, powerful weapons at their disposal. First off, Astra Militarum armies are huge, numbering the trillions. So what they lack in firepower, for example, their laughable las guns, jokingly referred to as flashlights for reasons you can probably think of yourself, they make up for in sheer numbers. They have tanks, lots of tanks, and all different sizes too. Leman Russ tanks will be your most common ones you'll come across. When you take on an army of the Astra Militarum, prepare to be vastly outnumbered, either with troops or tanks, or a mix of both. Not only do they have average tanks, they have these massive ones, known as the Baneblade. Look at this beautiful thing, and the 16 guns it's equipped with. Not only do they have tanks, they have artillery, aircraft, and special ops soldiers too. Throw a Titan in the mix, and you have yourself a serious hammer to deal with any situation. If you like tanks and huge armies of troops from all different types of legions, and have access to some special units like assassins and inquisitors, look no further. Next up, we have the Adepta Sororities, possibly the biggest zealots in the galaxy next to the Black Templar Space Marine army. These all-female warriors are huge on faith and blistering firepower. They seem to prefer using flame weapons and melta guns for the majority of their units, along with war hymns to gather the attention of the Emperor of mankind himself, to grant them miracles on the battlefield, and boost their faith. Yes, you heard me right. I did say miracles. They're sometimes nicknamed nuns with guns, but they are much more than that. Considering these ladies are not biologically enhanced or augmented in any way, they still fear nothing. Literally nothing. They're as crazy as you can get, going head-on with massive demons, horrifying aliens, and powerful heretic chaos space marines. Their faith is so powerful that in the game itself you get access to miracle dice, which you can use to alter the course of battle, making shots that you'd normally miss that will hit with precision accuracy, and wounds that would bounce off the carapace of a Tyranid warrior and become an instant kill shot. Likewise goes for their saving throws. These sororities will literally drop massive monuments and cathedrals from orbit that are in space and plant them on the battlefield to help bolster their already hardened spirits and help their prayers be heard by the Emperor in who they worship and devote their lives to. Some of their notable weapons systems are the Exorcist, which is basically an organ piano on top of a tank that uses its organ tubes as artillery weapons. They have immolators decked out with flamethrowers and multi-meltas that act as transports for the troops. And they have two of the most formidable characters in the whole setting of Warhammer. Morvenval, who is basically the Abbess Sanctorum, or the leader of the sororities, who goes into battle in this big deadly golden warsuit loaded with grenade launchers and storm bolters, and she has a massive spear that can cleave open tanks. And then you got Celestine, the living saint, who's basically an angel armed with a power sword and crazy ranged lightning attacks. And if the enemy kills her, all you have to do is roll a 2 on the table and she can come back and fight again. What? If you want to win with sheer flame and heat power and the strongest faith you can conjure up, these ladies won't let you down. Heck, throw a Titan in the mix with these ladies too. Why not? So to finish this off, there are some special groups of the Imperium that often lend their services to all of these factions. One of them is known as the Inquisition, who are basically the highest ranking representatives of the Imperium, responsible for determining such outlandish things like the fate of an entire planet. There are some notable characters with powerful abilities and weapons that you can bring in your Imperial armies, like Psyker Killers, or powerful Psykers themselves, to specialists that are good at handling different types of enemies. And the last support unit that you can merge with your Imperial army are the Assassinorum, or Assassins. You can take powerful snipers that specialize in taking out characters from across the table, to shapeshifters that can pop up in the middle of your army and deter you from gaining advantages with stratagems and command points. And then you got powerhouse melee experts that will eviscerate enemies at close combat and can self-destruct themselves when mortally wounded and be used basically as a human bomb, taking everybody that's around him down with him. Welcome to Warhammer 40k, where things will just get weirder and weirder, especially with the next video, where we will explore the diverse factions of the Xenos alien species. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and might be inspired to start a powerful Imperial army. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and continue to post your comments and corrections like in my last video, as I really genuinely appreciate any input that you guys give. Have yourselves an awesome day or night, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. The Emperor protects.